Raskin for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Kramer, here's what I don't get. On 6 different occasions, there were inspections and audits in the spring and the summer of 2020 that ended with warnings to Emergent that you needed to take urgent action to improve conditions at the facility, to retrain the staff in order to prevent cross-contamination. And yet still, there was cross-contamination and millions of vaccine shots ended up being destroyed. Is that right?
Congressman Raskin, we were aware with a number of audits, and we treat all of that audit information seriously. We always respond with corrective actions to those audits and take all possible precautions from happening again. As we described, unfortunately, there was the one contamination, the cross-contamination issue that occurred earlier this year, and we're doing everything we can to remediate and to prevent that from happening again.
Can you explain in more detail how that happened if you had been responding to these multiple warnings?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
How did the cross-contamination take place?
The cross-contamination occurred as a result of material that was leaving the AstraZeneca suite following a production cycle and production run. And as it was being exited out of our facility, it came in the general vicinity of some media that was being prepared for the initiation of a J&J run. So we don't know exactly how the virus of the AstraZeneca product was transferred into the media, but somehow it was. It's our determination based on that root cause investigation that that's how the virus was in the J&J product.
Well, how did Johnson & Johnson first discover it?
There are a number of samples, Congressman Raskin, that are taken throughout the manufacturing process as we monitor the production runs. And as I was describing earlier, one of those quality control tests we had asked J&J to perform at their facility in Leiden, since they're experts and are much more experienced at that test than we are. That was where the first sample was detected as being out of specification.
Okay. I want to ask you about the bonuses. Shortly before you had to destroy 15 million of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine shots, the company's board found that your executive vice president responsible for manufacturing, Mr. Kirk, had significantly exceeded performance in 2020, that year, right then, and awarded him a bonus of over $360,000 on top of his normal salary, bringing his total compensation, as I read it, to $1,778,627. How did you make that decision to give him a bonus in the middle of this cross-contamination event and this debacle in the production process?
But Congressman, throughout 2020, Mr. Kirk played an integral role in interfacing with our corporate clients, as well as with BARDA and HHS, Operation Warp Speed. Sean Kirk was working literally around the clock, 24 hours a day for months on end in order to supervise and direct all of the work that was being done. I think what needs to be underscored is the incredible challenge and the work that was required to get both of these candidates, AZ and J&J, up and running in an incredibly short period of time under extraordinary.
Forgive me, I mean, one of our colleagues said that Democrats evidently don't believe in bonuses. I think we definitely believe in bonuses for success, but we don't believe in bonuses for failure. I mean, wouldn't you agree that this was a catastrophic failure in the process? And how can that be rewarded with, I think he ended up with $420,000 in a bonus? I mean, what would it take for someone not to get a bonus?
So I don't agree that it was a failure. our company's work, and in this case, Mr. Kirk's work, was extraordinary. The amount of work that was accomplished, the progress that was made to advance these two candidates into manufacturing development and get them in a state of readiness to be prepared to respond to the pandemic was incredible.
Weren't there two separate episodes of contamination at the Bayview facility, not one, and didn't result in the destruction of, I think it was 10 million vaccines? AstraZeneca.
I think it's important to note that there was a cross-contamination, which I described with the J&J product. There were a number of contaminations while we were starting up the AstraZeneca manufacturing process, which you would normally find. Again, when you start up a biologic manufacturing process, it requires an incredible amount of trained workforce, manufacturing steps in order to get the process right. I think what's not been reported accurately is the fact that the package of IP that we received from AstraZeneca, under normal circumstances, that would be well-defined. You would bring that into your manufacturing facility and be able to quickly replicate that. That was not the case with the AstraZeneca product. And in fact, we ended up making 80 different process changes alone in the first 60 to 90 days of trying to stand that manufacturing process up. So it was very difficult, very complicated, and it did result in the number of lost production runs.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The time has expired. The chair now recognizes Mr. Krishnamurthy.